One. Hello everybody and welcome back to Fate Extra. I normally I would be quiet for this, but I don't feel like leaving off on a it would be good. Anyway, the voice acting is in Japanese, so I don't feel too bad about talking over it. However, if voiced cutscenes are in English, then in games, then I will be quiet for those. I woke up a little bit later than usual, much later than usual today, so I kind of have to record these much more. I don't know how you would say it. Faster than usual, I guess. But this episode, I didn't really have to do any editing because, for the most part, it's mostly cutscenes. The beginning of this week is mostly cutscenes, actually, because you can't really explore the arena until the third day. So for the most part, you're kind of stuck just seeing cutscenes. But because of that, because you can't explore the first floor of the arena on the third day, and you should really do everything on the third day. A lot of the enemies in the arena appear in the second floor, and a lot of enemies in the first floor appear on the second floor. There are new enemies, but they also give a lot of experience, so you should really do some grinding in the first floor of the arena on the third day, because those enemies actually do give quite a bit of experience, and they're not too hard to defeat. I think I get an item called the Staff of Fortitude. I don't use it that much, but use it. I didn't realize that it had MP heal, and it can recover MP for your servant. So you can pretty much just spam magic abilities and just buy a bunch of MP restoring items for yourself. Because I think Ether Shards are now finally available at the store. Not Ether Shards, MP Magic Crystal Shards or whatever are now finally available at the store, and be able to recover some MP for your master, for yourself, not your master. You'll be able to recover a significant amount of HP that way. But anyway, our opponent in this floor is Julius here. This floor this week is Julius. Now, Julius himself isn't too hard of an opponent to fight. I did come across a certain issue with our battle with him, but that didn't change the overall outcome of the battle. You might be able to guess I still won, but we'll talk about that more when it becomes relevant. Because of how overleveled I am, this week is sort of like hyping up how Julius is, one of the best, but he really isn't that much stronger than Little Ronnie in terms of difficulty. He's about just as strong, but if he catches you off guard, then you will lose to him. That's the only real reason he would be more difficult. He would be very difficult if you didn't know something about his pattern overall. I messed up and didn't think he would do a move early, but he did. So I ended up taking more damage than I should have. But like I've said, I'll explain. It doesn't change the overall outcome, and I'll talk about it more when it becomes relevant. I don't want to talk about strategy for defeating this week's opponent right in the first episode. I won't have anything to talk about in that episode. I've noticed that I'm saying a lot more in this episode for some reason, even though I've been getting good about not doing that. Either way, Shockwave's Second Strike is my favorite piece of equipment right now, because you'll shoot a little ball out, and it'll hit your opponent. It'll hit an enemy in the arena, and they'll be stunned for their first two moves. So you can, if you're lucky, you can either get an extra hidden, or you can just do, if you're playing Caster, Bestial Sky in a move, and it'll finish the enemy off. But anyway, yeah, you can buy magic crystal shards. Now I recommend you buy quite a few of those. Enemies in the arena will drop ether crystals and I think magic crystal, better version of the magic crystal line. If it's not magic crystal shards. But oh yeah, you probably want the enhancement spike, especially if you're gonna do New Game Plus, because you'll be able to get all the treasures in that one mini game with Shinji in the first week. That was the formula I was talking about then. So you can buy that if you want. You might want to buy the old rusty sword too eventually. Simply because a New Game Plus, well, if you're going to New Game Plus, you'll be able to keep all your formal wear, and I'm not sure about your money. So before you beat the game or finish the game, you might want to buy all the formal wares that you can, because near the end of the game you can grind all you want, and you have no, there's no penalty for leaving the arena near the end of the game. So if you're having trouble against the final boss, they'll allow you to grind to your heart's content. So you really don't need to worry about anything, worry about grinding if you're having trouble against the final boss, which is a good thing. I like that. I like that they let you actually grind for the final boss if you're having trouble. So there isn't like, and it's not that difficult to get there's actually a super boss, and the fact they can actually grind a lot before you, like the final dungeon, if you want to call it that, really isn't a dungeon. It's, from the map I've seen of it, it's actually pretty small. It's like just one open area, and then there's the final boss right across from the open area. So, and the super boss of the game is in that area too. The only way to fight the super boss is to get to complete all Taiga's requests, but only in a New Game Plus. I was interrupted. I was trying to say that you can only fight the super boss in a New Game Plus. So you don't need to be worried about fighting the super boss or losing to the super boss in your first playthrough. Although it can suck because you might not want to do a replay through of the game. Although I think there is some replay value there, considering the servants play a little bit differently. Well, Caster and plays differently from Saber and Archer. I think Saber and Archer probably have some of the play styles, considering they're more around based on strength than anything. But I could be wrong in that. I've never played as Archer. Yeah.
Hmm? 申し訳ありません、マスター。私の霊覚も戻ってきたし。
Yeah, because of Julia's servant, Caster has taken some damage. And she won't be fighting at full strength for a little bit. So that's unfortunate.
気づかなくても。私が気を張っていれば守ってあげられるって埋もれていたんです。ごめんなさい。すぐに戦えるようになりますから、どうかそれまでは無理しないで。私のせいで使いたい人をなくしてしまう。
So yeah, the game makes Julius out to be like a pretty big opponent during this first day. A pretty powerful opponent anyway. But it's I kind of don't really like it that much because considering we're over leveled, we're strong enough to face Julius. But originally at it, you know, in games okay, let me rephrase a lot of things. In games, there's a lot of times where you can't beat an opponent. You're scripted to lose, and I don't really like that much. Because there are times where you can grind, and you might be able to defeat that opponent, but you'll just lose anyway. Or maybe you don't even have to grind. You can beat the opponent outright, but you just lose anyway, just because the game's scripted you to lose. Now, I don't necessarily mind that in the beginning of the game, but if it's near the end of the game, that's when I have a problem with it. But either way, it doesn't really bother me here that much, because it only bothers me because we can beat Julius, but we're acting like we can't, or like he's a really tough opponent, when he really isn't that much more tough than Ronnie. Only the fact that he can use his noble phantasm right from the get-go. I do like it, but this game is pretty good about preventing scripted losses, because if you remember that Berserker-like enemy when we were fighting Alice on the first day, you can actually beat that thing. You still have to get the Vorpal Blade, but you can beat him, and you can beat little Ronnie and Dracula earlier too. They'll have dialogue boxes for that, so I like it when games do that. So if you really want to, you can grind up and defeat enemies before you're supposed to, and the game usually has something to say. Usually has a little extra scene. I don't know why my voice is kind of disjointed during this episode, because usually I speak with a little bit more of a flow, but I guess I'm having trouble thinking of the right words to say. So I'm sorry about that, but I can't really do much to change that, I guess. But yeah, Julius's servant actually did quite a bit to Caster. as Renta, I don't know why I was going to say her last name, but as Rin is saying here, Caster is no longer receiving magic from us. So eventually she'll just disappear because she's no longer receiving magic from us. Actually, there is something I do want to talk about, but it really isn't relevant, or I'll spoil something unless... Yeah, I'll spoil it unless it actually happens. But it happens later in the video, like near the end. So I might save it for the next episode to talk about this thing that I have on my mind, but... yeah. There's a lot of things going on in my mind right now. Although, well, it's kind of funny when I make these videos and I make a playthrough, but a majority of the time, not everybody will watch this episode. They'll watch the first and then the final episode. That's what I've noticed in a lot of my videos, that the episodes of a series that has the most views is the first and the last. Every episode in between doesn't have as much views, and that's understandable. As people are either looking for the end of a game or for the beginning of a game, just to see how it is. Very few people will actually see all the episodes in between, so I'm not really worried about when I'm into a series and the middle episodes parts don't have as many views as the first episode. So Julia's servant is talking to us. In various cutscenes we can sort of see an outline of him, or his like yeah, I think seeing an outline of him is the best way to put it. And I think it's implied that our characters can't see him, but us as the player sort of has an idea where he is, just for the sake of the player having a little bit more context, I guess. I don't believe that's the right way to put it, but that's the way I can most easily explain it. As I've said before, I'm not the best at explaining things, and I usually have a bit of trouble doing that, unless I've had a lot of time in advance to come up with like a script. I'm not really good at explaining things, or a long time to gather my thoughts, I should say. I never thought I actually would play Fate Extra for this long, but I actually am quite enjoying the game quite a bit. And I've recorded a lot, like as I said before, I'm a bit farther into the game than the actual episodes. Well, the actual commentary recordings. Blah blah blah. Let me rephrase all of that, because I'm farther into the game than this episode would make you think I am. Because originally I recorded like enough for an episode and then I stopped, but the other day I decided to record a bunch, and I did. I recorded for a few hours, so yeah, that's good, I guess. Since I have the extra footage, I don't really have to worry about not having footage, although that can work against me at the same time, because then I'll get lazy about recording an episode, and I might not have enough footage when I really need it. You know, I realize that I'm not the best commentator out there. I'm probably not the worst either. But at least I try to have... At least I try, I suppose is what I'm trying to say, because I may not be the best commentator, I may not be the most interesting one, but I at least upload a decent amount. I've gotten a lot better about it than I used to. I think it might be the switch to post that allowed me to do this switch because I can have a lot of footage, and all I have to do is edit the footage, render it out, and talk over it. I know how much time the recording is going to take. I know I can more easily plan out some things. Although interruptions will still happen, because even if I tell somebody that I'm going to be recording, if I tell my family members that I'm going to be recording, it doesn't really matter. They'll do something, or I'll be interrupted. It really doesn't matter. Think a lot more about how I see this YouTube career, because I said before, is I wanted to just keep it as a hobby, but at the same time I need to treat it as a job as well, because it can be a job. Although a job should be something you enjoy, and I do enjoy doing this, but do I want it to stay as a hobby, or do I want to pursue it as a job? For now, I wanted to stay as a hobby because there is a career I want to pursue that's not this. However, if I cannot pursue the career I want to pursue for whatever reason, then I'll rely on this if it becomes a viable career for me to have. Of course, I'll probably make sure I have eggs in several baskets, but you'll be allowed to explore the arena a little bit here. Don't fight anything. Have Shockwave second strike, or whatever Shockwave you have. If you have Shockwave first strike, use that. But use Shockwave the second strike here to get past some enemies. The caster will still fight, but her attack is very low. I didn't expect this one guy to go at me so fast. But since I can show him off, I decided, hey, why not? But I'm not taking any chances, and I'm using every one of my abilities to take him down. Because we're not going to be in the arena for that long. Anyway, that new heal form warrior makes the healing look a little bit more epic than it really is supposed to be. So anyway, I'm able to take the punishment out here. And that enemy in particular doesn't give too much experience, but those guys over there, I forget what they're called, actually do give you quite a bit of experience in the 200 or 300 range. So which is why I think I grinded like 3 or 4 levels here. How long is this video is only 2 minutes longer, so I won't be able to explain in detail what I wanted to explain earlier, so I'll have to save it for the next episode. Hopefully I'll be able to remember what I wanted to talk about. I hope I'll be able to anyway. And then Julius and his servant came here. There they are. Oh. How? I'm a little bit confused here because we could look for an escape, but couldn't we just use like the return crystals? Like I know you might not have one, for whatever reason, but I mean, wouldn't that be something that the player could use in this situation? Or is it that the second he starts using it, Julia's servant will come in? Because Rin does it for its withdrawal on us, but wouldn't the characters have done the same? Or is there, or does that not really exist in the world, and it just exists for the sake of gameplay? Because I think there are several situations like that in game where an item, like a phoenix, what is it, down for Final Fantasy. Although that's understandable because I think it actually prevents people from being knocked out instead of dead. Although I'm sure there are a lot of little situations like that where an item in the game could save a certain situation happening in the game, but for whatever reason your characters decide not to use it for the sake of the story, or for the sake of that item only existing for the sake of gameplay. I know I use the word sake there a lot, but oh well. Anyway, this video is gonna end soon, so I'll see you guys again next time, whenever that is. Bye.